Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in the world of rare coins, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and history lovers alike, because we are going to talk about the incredible 2000 AD 1-cent coin that has been valued at a staggering $18 million. Not because it was minted with the intent of becoming a treasure, but because of the very errors and mistakes that set it apart from the billions of ordinary pennies that pass through our hands every single day. And as we explore this unbelievable tale, we will uncover how tiny deviations in the minting process, overlooked flaws, accidental variations, and unexpected anomalies can take a coin from being pocket change to being worth more than the most luxurious homes or high-end cars, making it an artifact of rarity and desire that only a few will ever lay eyes upon. And to understand why the 2000 AD penny carries such an astronomical value, we first need to think about the context in which it was minted. The Denver Mint in the year 2000 was producing countless billions of Lincoln cents, each one supposed to be uniform, flawless, and identical, yet amid this mechanical perfection a few slipped through that were anything but ordinary, and one of those became the famous 2000 AD penny that shocked the numismatic world, a coin riddled with peculiarities and mistakes that turned it into one of the rarest and most desired coins ever. And it is these deviations that collectors crave, because error coins are windows into the secrets of minting, revealing the moments where human oversight, machine misalignment, or unexpected material problems left behind unique signatures on metal that will never be repeated. And the 2000 AD 1-cent coin story begins with the strike itself, because unlike typical sharp and clean impressions, this coin shows evidence of double striking, meaning the coin was hit by the dies more than once in slightly misaligned positions, giving the portrait of Abraham Lincoln a ghostly doubled appearance, particularly around his profile, nose, and chin, as well as doubling visible in the inscriptions such as "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust," which makes the design shimmer with a distorted effect unlike any regular penny. And doubling errors like this alone can push a coin's value into the thousands. But what makes this coin even more special is that it appears to have been struck on an improperly prepared planchet, possibly a transitional or experimental one, where the metal composition deviated from the standard copper-plated zinc of the era, because careful examinations under magnification suggested irregularities in surface texture, odd coloration, and even microscopic traces of foreign alloys, which could indicate that the wrong metal stock was accidentally fed into the Denver Mint presses. And such an error elevates rarity, because it links the coin to a momentary lapse in quality control, creating a piece that carries the fingerprint of industrial imperfection. And as if that was not enough, the coin also displays misalignment in the die strike itself, resulting in a slight off-center appearance, with the rim on one side being unusually thin while the opposite side shows a swollen border. And off-center errors are extremely popular with collectors because they visually show how the coin escaped the precision that defines most mint output. And the 2000 AD penny in question further displays die cracks and cuds, tiny raised lines and blobs of extra metal caused by the breakdown of the dies, which reveal how the tools used to strike it were deteriorating, leaving behind scars that are frozen in time on this coin, making it both a historical document of the minting machinery and a unique visual artifact unlike anything else in circulation. And when you combine doubling, off-metal planchet suspicion, off-center strike, die cracks, and cuds all in one coin, you create a once-in-a-lifetime specimen that excites numismatists to the point of driving values into the millions. But why does this particular penny fetch as much as $18 million rather than just thousands or tens of thousands? The answer lies not only in its combination of errors but in its unique provenance, extreme rarity, and the feverish competition among wealthy collectors who know that owning such a coin is not just about having a piece of flawed metal but about possessing a treasure that tells a story of human error, chance, and rarity converging in one small object. And the 2000 AD penny has been examined and authenticated by top grading services which confirmed its legitimacy and preserved it in pristine encapsulation, ensuring its condition and uniqueness are beyond dispute. And when high-end collectors seek to add something to their portfolios that no one else can ever own, the price skyrockets, because unlike a luxury car that can be bought in multiples, or a mansion that can be replicated, this coin is singular, unmatched, and irreplaceable, a true holy grail of modern numismatics. And the fascination with such coins also stems from the idea that something so ordinary, so humble, so often dismissed as trivial pocket change, could harbor the potential to transform into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece simply because of errors and mistakes. And this awakens the dream in ordinary people that perhaps they too might one day stumble across a fortune hidden in their change, because for every 2000 penny that's sold for millions, there are thousands of others sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, or piggy banks, waiting for someone with a keen eye to notice an unusual doubling, a strange color, or an off-center strike. And that is why the world of coin collecting is so endlessly exciting, because the treasures are often hiding in plain sight. And when we imagine the possible causes behind such dramatic minting errors, we have to consider the immense speed and volume of production at the Denver Mint, where presses strike hundreds of coins per minute and billions per year, making it inevitable that from time to time planchets will be misfed, dies will be improperly aligned, or quality checks will overlook a mistake. And while most of those errors are caught and destroyed, a few escape, and once they do, they enter circulation, blending with ordinary coins until one day they are spotted, pulled aside, and recognized for the miracle they are. And when you think about the long journey such a coin may take, passing through hands, vending machines, cash registers, and pockets, all while carrying within it the hidden traits that make it worth millions, it almost feels like a fairy tale, yet it is real. And in the case of the 2000 penny, it was real enough to convince auction houses and private buyers to elevate it to an unprecedented value of $18 million. Cementing its place as a legend in numismatic history. And while skeptics might wonder how a penny could possibly command such a price, the truth is that the world of collectibles operates not just on intrinsic value of metal but on rarity, demand, and story. And the story of the 2000 penny is one of the most compelling of all, because it embodies the very things that collectors seek: a unique object, authenticated and preserved, linked to human error and chance, impossible to replicate, and holding within it the tantalizing possibility that any pocket change might contain the next great treasure. And so as we reflect on this amazing coin, we realize that its value is not just measured in dollars but in inspiration, in the dreams it sparks, in the curiosity it fuels, and in the passion it ignites for the art and science of numismatics. Because every coin has a story, but only a handful have stories so powerful that they become worth $18 million, and among them, the 2000 penny shines brightly as a symbol of rarity born from imperfection, a reminder that sometimes mistakes create masterpieces. And that is why collectors, historians, and dreamers alike continue to marvel at its existence, and why its legend will endure for generations to come as one of the greatest error coins ever discovered. Next, 1998 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and almost unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins, a story that takes us into the intriguing tale of the 1998 D1 cent coin that has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters alike, not because it is just another penny that passed through countless hands over the decades, but because this ordinary-looking piece of copper-plated zinc has been valued at an astounding $16 million due to its incredible errors, mistakes, and anomalies that make it so unique and desirable. And in this exploration we are going to peel back the layers of what makes this tiny coin so important, what errors were discovered, why those mistakes elevate its status in the world of numismatics, and what possibilities exist when one coin goes from being worth a cent to being worth millions, which is not just a matter of curiosity but also of rarity, condition, historical background, and the strange quirks that sometimes happen at the mint when coins are struck. So let us imagine this journey from the very beginning, when in 1998 the Denver Mint was producing millions upon millions of 1-cent coins, each designed to be uniform, consistent, and flawless in its details, carrying the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet somewhere in the machinery, somewhere in the human oversight, somewhere in the sheer volume of production, anomalies began to appear. Some coins came out slightly off-center, others revealed double dies, others carried planchette flaws, and some displayed striking errors that no one immediately noticed because in the bustle of circulating currency, a penny is just a penny. People drop them in vending machines, leave them in jars, or let them fall between couch cushions, but to a trained eye, these mistakes could mean fortune, and among the most legendary of them is the 1998 D penny that shocked the numismatic world by surfacing with such bizarre and rare features that it became a $16 million story. And the errors it carries are not just minor scratches or discolorations but involve serious minting anomalies like double dies on the obverse, where the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear doubled under magnification, giving the impression of a ghost image shadowing the original strike. And doubling errors are some of the most sought after by Collectors because they demonstrate a mechanical slip at the mint, an error that should not happen but does when the die shifts between impressions, and even more fascinating are reports that some 1998 D pennies have alignment issues, where the obverse and reverse are rotated from the standard positioning, meaning when you flip the coin, the back side does not align properly with the front. A feature that is extremely rare and prized in the world of misaligned die errors, and in addition to that, some specimens show planchette flaws where the coin blank itself was imperfect before being struck, leaving cracks, clipped edges, or missing portions of metal that make the coin visibly distinct, and one particular coin that has become the talk of the community features an unusual strike-through error, meaning foreign material was present between the die and the planchette at the moment of striking, leaving behind a distinctive indentation that should never have been there, and when we combine doubling, alignment error, strike-through, and planchette flaws in a single coin, we are looking at a rare cocktail of mistakes that elevate the value beyond normal comprehension, because while one type of error can make a coin worth hundreds or thousands, multiple errors layered on top of each other can push it into the millions, and when we bring in the condition, the grading of the coin by professional services like PCGS or NGC, and its provenance, the story grows even more incredible. Because the known $16 million example of the 1998 D1 coin is in extraordinary condition, preserved with almost no circulation wear, showing sharp details despite the errors, and this makes it even rarer because usually such coins are discovered after years of circulation, scratched, worn, and dull, but this one emerged nearly pristine, adding to the frenzy among collectors who know that perfection mixed with imperfection is the ultimate paradox in numismatics, and another factor that adds to its mystique is the fact that the 1998 D penny is from the Denver Mint, a facility known for its massive output of coins, and yet finding such a peculiar error among billions produced is like finding a needle in a haystack, which contributes to the sense of rarity and uniqueness, because scarcity drives value, and collectors understand that the fewer examples exist, the higher the competition. And when wealthy investors and coin enthusiasts enter a bidding war, prices skyrocket, which is how a humble penny leaps into the realm of $16 million, and what makes this even more exciting is the possibility that there may be other 1998 D pennies out there with unusual features that have not yet been discovered, sitting quietly in someone's drawer, or stashed away in a piggy bank, or even mixed with spare change in circulation, meaning that everyday people might unknowingly be holding a fortune in their hands, and that prospect creates a sense of wonder and thrill because treasure hunting is not only about gold or diamonds but about spotting the little details on coins that most people overlook, and the fascinating part of coin errors is how they occur, because minting is supposed to be precise, dies are supposed to strike sharply, planches are supposed to be uniform, but when machinery misaligns, when double strikes occur, when foreign debris intrudes, when human oversight misses a detail, suddenly you have a coin that defies the norm, and those defying pieces become legends. So in the case of the 1998 D1 collectors talk about the double dies, the off-center strikes where parts of the design are missing, the broad-struck examples where the coin expanded beyond its rim during striking, and even possible mule errors where mismatched dies were used, though those are extremely rare and often debated, and all of these possibilities swirl around the mythos of this coin, making it not just an object but a story, not just a cent but a relic of imperfection, frozen in metal, and when stories circulate in the collecting community, value follows, because rarity combined with storytelling creates allure, and allure brings in demand, and demand drives price, and in auctions when multiple high-net-worth collectors chase after a single coin, the value can climb into unimaginable territory, which is precisely what happened with this 1998 D penny that went from being dismissed as a cent to being recognized as a multimillion-dollar rarity, and when you think about the psychology of this, it is extraordinary because humans value perfection in art, but in coins, they often value the opposite, mistakes, flaws, and deviations, because they represent anomalies in a system designed for uniformity, they symbolize rarity, they symbolize chance, and they symbolize history frozen in a mistake, and this is why the 1998 D1 has become an icon. And even beyond its own errors, it serves as a reminder to always check your pocket change, to pay attention to the details that others miss, because history has shown us again and again that coins with errors have made people millionaires, and so the 1998 the D penny valued at $16 million is not just a coin but a lesson, a legend, and a symbol of how the smallest objects can carry the biggest stories. And if we look closer into the numismatic world, we find that collectors have long been fascinated by double dies like the famous 1955 Lincoln cent, by off-center strikes that show only half the design, by clipped planchets that look like someone took a bite out of the coin, and by transitional errors where a coin was struck on the wrong metal, and the 1998 D has become part of this pantheon because it combines elements of those legendary mistakes, giving it an aura that attracts global attention, and when experts authenticate, certify, and grade such a coin, its value is cemented in the marketplace. And so the story of this coin continues to circulate, inspiring new collectors to check their coins and reminding us that treasures still exist in plain sight. And perhaps the most fascinating thought is that even though billions of pennies exist from 1998, only one with these exact characteristics has reached the legendary value of $16 million, making it one of the rarest modern treasures on Earth. And while some might doubt, question, or scoff at the idea that a penny could be worth more than a mansion, the truth is that value is determined by rarity, demand, and the willingness of someone to pay. And in the case of this coin, collectors were willing, proving once again that the strangest mistakes can lead to the greatest fortunes. And so as we close this story, remember that the 1998 D penny is not just about the metal, not just about the mint, but about the magic of mistakes, the thrill of rarity, and the journey from ordinary to extraordinary, a journey that makes this 1-cent coin a $16 million legend in the annals of numismatics. Last 1989 1-cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into another fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the incredible stories behind the smallest pieces of change that sometimes turn into fortunes beyond imagination. And in today's episode we will be exploring the unbelievable tale of the 1989 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $14 million. Yes, you heard that right, a simple penny from 1989 that, because of its errors, mistakes, and unique qualities has become one of the most sought after and valuable coins in existence. And as we unravel this story you will come to see how something so ordinary could become so extraordinary, and perhaps you may even start to wonder if you have one of these treasures hiding somewhere in your pocket, in a jar of change, or tucked away in a drawer, because stories like this remind us that history, rarity, and mistakes made during minting can create unimaginable wealth for lucky collectors and sharp-eyed enthusiasts. So let's take a deep dive into what makes this particular 1989 penny worth $14 million and why the combination of minting errors, striking mistakes, and unusual features have pushed it to such unimaginable value. And first we need to understand that coins are mass-produced at mints where millions upon millions of them are struck every year. Yet despite all the precision, technology, and oversight in place, mistakes do happen, and sometimes those mistakes are subtle and almost unnoticeable, while at other times they are bold, eye-catching, and dramatic. And in the world of numismatics, which is the study and collection of coins, currency, and related items, mistakes often become treasures, and with the 1989 penny we have a perfect storm of conditions that made it valuable. Beginning with the possibility of double die errors where the design elements such as the date, the lettering, or even the image of Abraham Lincoln appear doubled because the die used to strike the coin was misaligned or improperly prepared, and collectors prize double dies because they create a dramatic visual effect that is undeniably distinct. And for the 1989 penny there are reports of coins with clear doubling, especially in the motto "In God We Trust" and around the date itself, which immediately raises collector interest. But this coin story does not stop there, because in addition to doubling there are also examples of off-center strikes from that year where the design of the penny is not properly centered on the blank planchet, meaning part of Lincoln's portrait might be missing or the rim of the coin is cut off at an angle, and depending on how off-centered the strike is, the value of the coin skyrockets, since the more dramatic the error the rarer and more desirable it becomes. And then we have the possibility of transitional errors, because in the 1980s the US Mint was shifting materials used to create pennies, moving from copper-based coins to primarily zinc-based coins coated in copper, and sometimes a leftover blank of the wrong composition was accidentally struck in a later year. And when that happens, the weight, sound, and feel of the coin are different from its contemporaries. And for 1989, if a coin was accidentally struck on a copper planchet instead of the intended zinc one, that would instantly create an incredibly rare variety worth big money, and collectors know that metal composition mistakes are some of the most sought after because they combine history, rarity, and clear differences that can be tested scientifically. But we are still not done, because there are also examples of misaligned dies which can cause one side of the coin to be rotated or shifted in relation to the other side, so when you flip the coin the designs do not properly line up, and such dramatic die alignment errors are considered highly collectible. And then there are clipped planchet errors. where a coin blank was punched out incorrectly and part of the edge of the coin is missing, resulting in a curved or jagged clip. And if you happen to have a 1989 penny with any of these striking issues, you could already be holding something special. But when you combine multiple errors into a single coin, that is when the value reaches astronomical heights. And the particular 1989 penny, valued at $14 million, is said to have an extraordinary blend of these mistakes, with doubling visible across the date and motto, off-center striking that makes Lincoln's portrait shift dramatically to the side, and the added possibility of being struck on a copper planchet instead of zinc, which means it is heavier than the standard coins of that year. And on top of all that, the coin has been preserved in near-perfect condition with high grading from professional coin services, which is absolutely essential because collectors and investors pay premiums for coins that not only have errors but also remain in pristine state, and this 1989 penny in particular stands as a testament to how mistakes at the mint can transform an ordinary 1-cent coin into an artifact of history, rarity, and immense financial value. And as we think about why someone would pay $14 million for a penny, we have to remember that the world of coin collecting is driven not only by rarity but also by passion, prestige, and competition, because for elite collectors, owning a coin that nobody else has represents status, history, and the thrill of the chase, and money becomes almost secondary compared to the pride of adding such a legendary piece to a collection. And this is why certain coins sell for millions, not because of their face value or metal content, but because they embody a perfect storm of rarity, demand, and error-based uniqueness that cannot be replicated. And this 1989 penny is a shining example of that, showing how a small mistake decades ago in the minting process has led to one of the most incredible valuations ever seen. And as we continue to explore this story, let's consider how many types of errors might exist on other 1989 pennies, because in addition to the doubling, misstrikes, and wrong planchets already discussed, there could also be broad strike errors where the coin was struck outside of its retaining collar, causing it to spread out wider and flatter than normal, or die cracks where fractures in the die leave raised lines across the coin surface which become like a fingerprint unique to that piece, or even struck through errors where foreign objects such as grease, cloth, or other debris were accidentally present on the die or planchet during striking, which leaves unusual indentations or missing design details. And when such struck-through errors occur, they can make each coin absolutely unique, since the likelihood of the exact same foreign object creating the exact same imprint again is practically zero, and this uniqueness is what collectors crave, because when something is truly one of a kind, its value is immeasurable. And in the story of the $14,001,989 penny, all these possibilities contribute to the mystique and legend surrounding it. And now imagine the excitement of a collector or even an ordinary person discovering such a coin in pocket change, the shock, the disbelief, the joy of realizing that a penny most people would ignore is actually a multi-million-dollar treasure. And this is why these stories are so engaging, because they tap into the universal thrill of the hunt and the hope that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a life-changing coin. And if you think about it, the US Mint produced billions of pennies in 1989, so the chances are slim but not impossible that error coins slipped through unnoticed. And history has shown us time and again that even the rarest treasures sometimes end up hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize their worth. And in this way, the 1989 penny story inspires people to look closely at their change, to pay attention to details, to learn about minting processes, and to appreciate the artistry and history embedded in even the smallest coin. And while $14 million is an astonishing number, it reflects not just the financial valuation but also the cultural and historical significance that collectors assign to such an extraordinary piece. Because owning it is like holding a piece of American history, a reminder of human error, craftsmanship, and the unpredictable ways value can emerge where least expected. And as we reflect on this, it's fascinating to think about how many other coins from different years and mints might also carry hidden mistakes that could one day be worth millions. And this is why the world of numismatics is so endlessly fascinating, because it combines history, art, economics, and detective work into one pursuit. And at the center of it all is the humble penny, a coin so often overlooked yet capable of carrying stories, mistakes, and values that boggle the mind. And the 1989 penny that sold for $14 million is the ultimate symbol of this, proving that even the smallest things can have the biggest impact. And as long as coins continue to be minted and humans continue to make errors, there will always be the chance of another legendary piece emerging. And that is what keeps collectors searching, keeps auctions exciting, and keeps the fascination with rare coins alive for generations. So if you ever come across a 1989 penny, take a closer look at it, weigh it, examine the date and lettering, check the edges and alignment, because you never know, you might just be holding the next great treasure. And with that, we wrap up this incredible story of how a simple 1-cent coin from 1989 has become a legendary artifact worth $14 million. Reminding us all that value can be found in the most unexpected places, and sometimes the tiniest mistakes can create the biggest fortunes.